This is going to be the recruiting timeline, so that way you guys don't feel lost in the whole recruiting process. And this is how your son can actually get noticed, get offers, and stop guessing in this whole college recruiting process. And most families, let's be honest guys, nobody really has a plan when it comes to college baseball recruiting. And here's going to be the step-by-step process that's helped my players go from overlooked to landing college commitments. All right, so who is this even for? All right, so if you are a parent of a high school baseball player who is serious about playing college baseball, he's looking for guidance and development without chasing all these evaluation events all over the country. He's taking lessons from maybe an underqualified coach, or maybe you guys are spending thousands on a recruiting service. Also, if your player is hungry, he's coachable, and he's ready to level up, this is for you. And this will be the most important 30 minutes or so you spend this season. And as far as the agenda, we're going to go over the recruiting timeline for high school baseball players, my program, the Triple Play, and then I'm also going to give you guys the gifts that I promised for all of you guys. And as a reminder, if you guys are in here, just make sure to mute yourself. There are a good amount of people in this live right now, and all it takes is one to kind of distract everyone. So, all right, let's get started. So who is the Triple Play not for? So as far as the program, my Triple Play, it's players who are in 7th grade or younger, players who need to be reminded to do the work, parents who care more about recruiting than the development of their player, and families looking for a magic shortcut or a quick fix. Athletes who maybe ghost their coaches and skip that accountability, or anyone who isn't serious about actually playing college baseball. And bottom line, my program is not a hand-holding program, and it's for self-driven players who actually want real results and are willing to earn them, right? Not given to them, they're willing to earn them. Who's the Triple Play for? It's for 8th graders and older, high school baseball players who are driven, coachable, and want to compete at that next level, and families who are tired of guessing and want a real plan in the recruiting process, and also athletes who are already training hard but need a little bit more structure, exposure, maybe a little bit of accountability, or maybe your player's a little bit overlooked, or he's a late bloomer. Maybe parents who want to support their son without doing all the heavy lifting for them. So if your son is serious about getting better, getting noticed, and getting an offer, everything that I built right here, and including the Triple Play, this was built for him. So why does all of this even matter? All right, so let's be honest. College coaches aren't going to your son's game, watching random games, hoping your kid stands out. More than likely, he's going to a game with a short list of players that he's already looking to watch. The game's changed, especially the recruiting game. It has changed, and if you don't have a clear path, you're basically falling behind the rest of the competition. And I want to tell you guys a quick little story about Earhart. Earhart just recently committed to a college, and he's one of my students. He mentioned verbatim players he honestly felt that were better than him. He landed a scholarship and they didn't, because he knew how to reach out to college coaches. So at the end of the day, it is very valuable to understand this path. And by the end of this webinar, you'll see exactly how my students are committing. You can see Earhart in the bottom right there, and also getting real results like Derek. Derek's a 2028, and just two months into the program, he's gained 8 miles an hour exit velocity. And then also JT, who's been able to decrease his 60 time, increases the arm velocity 8 miles an hour, and he's also a 2028 going into his sophomore season. All right, so this is all without wasting money on random showcases, spanning 200 coaches on a recruiting service. Guys, again, if you are unmuted, just make sure to check that you are unmuting yourself, just so we're not distracting everyone. Relying on high school coaches or travel coaches to ultimately handle it, maybe burning out from overtraining but ultimately having no results, or maybe you're plateauing in the gym, or traveling an hour plus to your local hitting guru. Let me see. We'll wait. If anybody knows who is unmuted, just go ahead and put it in the chat, and we will get this situated. Okay. All right. All right, so this is without wasting money or random showcases, spanning 200 coaches, or relying on your high school or travel ball coach to handle it, burning out from overtraining without any results, or traveling over an hour to hit, with some guru out there, right? So ultimately, you're probably already asking yourself, why listen to me? So this is little babyface Evan, 4-year starter on varsity. I also went the D1 route and played at NC State University, and I studied aerospace engineering. I transitioned from a right-handed pitcher my freshman year. I was a PO, and I transitioned to a third baseman. I was also drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals. I played 7 years in pro ball between the St. Louis Cardinals and San Diego Padres, and I represented Team Columbia, which which is where my dad's from, in the World Baseball Classic back in 2023. And I've helped millions of players online through free content. Now, yes, millions of players, because every single month we get over 1 million views, and we've been doing this for about like 5 years now. Thousands in my DMs, especially on Instagram, as a lot of you guys probably know, and personally have coached hundreds inside my private academy. And I built the triple play system after living it as a player. I didn't have a coach in high school like actually walk me through these steps. So I basically became that coach for others. All right. So most families have this completely backwards, right? We're waiting for the high school coach to make it happen, or attending the wrong showcases without a plan, thinking a highlight reel is like the end all be all answer. Guys, you don't need exposure first. You need the foundation set, and then the time frame to make sure that you feel confident in what you are doing. All right. So we are in the middle of a recruiting whiplash. I'm sure that a lot of you guys feel this right now, because there's a lot of different things going on, right? The rules keep changing. 1 week is about exposure. The next about, making sure that you're a great student. Another week, a recruiting service maybe hits you up as far as joining into their database. And maybe it's about throwing harder, or maybe hitting bombs, or going to another showcase. But what about turning your son into an influencer? I've seen that a little bit over on social media as well, because that's a way to get recruited. That's what someone might say. But ultimately, parents are reacting to everything but moving towards nothing. So most players and families are stuck in motion, kind of this circular motion, kind of like a hamster wheel, but we're not making progress towards what we really want to achieve, right? So then came, as a lot of you guys know, as far as the rules changing, this whole portal tsunami that's happening. Now, high school baseball players are competing with 22-year-old transfers out of JUCO with 400 college at-bats. Maybe they have a beard, maybe they have kids, I don't know, guys. But ultimately, coaches are willing to commit guys that have not necessarily the potential, but really they're recruiting the production. Guys, production out of 400 college at-bats, it's already been proven on what these players are able to do. And the window to stand out has also gotten a lot tighter, and you have to start earlier, and it's ultimately way more competitive. Guys, competition has always been there. I know a lot of people like to draw the argument of, oh, things have changed, it's so much harder. Well, competition's been around since the beginning of time, and even in the 1980s, 1990s, early 2000s, every high school baseball player, more or less, wanted to play college baseball. That, every kid's dream is to play baseball at the highest level. So the competition's always been there. It's just the resources that we have available are that much more advanced, right? So if your player doesn't have a real plan, he's not even going to be in the conversation with these college coaches. So that's why guessing just doesn't work. You can't afford to just keep winging it. Doing what everyone else is doing isn't enough, because everyone else, let's be honest, everyone else isn't getting recruited to play college baseball. And this is why ultimately I built the triple play system. It's not about doing more of what you're doing. It's about doing what works in today's ultra competitive recruiting world. So I'm going to go over the recruiting timeline for you guys. And if you guys are watching this, I'm going to also post this on a YouTube. But ultimately, as a really, like if this is like something you watch from four years in advance, but the bottom, 2030, 2029, as you guys already know, that's your graduation year. 8th graders are 2030s at the time of recording. 12th graders who are about to graduate, that's 2026. So 8th and 9th graders, and by the way, this is who I work with exclusively, is 8th and 9th, 10th through 12th. Really the whole recruiting conversation for 8th and 9th graders, it is a tiny little speed bump on the road. It's nothing to be worried about. I'm sure that you guys go over speed bumps all over the parking lot, maybe a little bit too fast, right? But ultimately, it's nothing that you really worry about, right? But inaction throughout the years leads to a huge mountain where you're like, holy cow, where in the world, how did this come to be? It's a mountain because that speed bump grew with time because we didn't really do anything. So let's go by one. As far as 8th graders, your foundational year, if there's any 8th graders in here, go ahead, put like maybe an emoji in the chat. But this is your foundational year of focus on building your routine. You should know what a routine looks like, feels like. You should be doing stuff about baseball. You should start making sure that you're taking it serious if you haven't already. You should be focusing on body weight, light weights in the gym, because ultimately we're heavily focusing on athleticism and agility. We want to also visualize what that future looks like as far as playing college baseball, because let's be honest, if you start visualizing, you'll start making it seem a lot more realistic. And again, guys, recruiting is a speed bump. Do not focus on it too much, right? But the earlier you start, the clearer the path. And yes, you don't have to focus on recruiting, but as far as getting this, the wheels spinning is going to be helpful, because ultimately that's going to lead to understanding what that structure looks like throughout the next couple of years as you are amplifying the whole college recruiting process. So ninth graders, this is your identity year. Guys, if you're going to high school, a lot of parents are probably in this Zoom right now, but it's important you don't go with the crowd, right? And there's obviously a lot of temptations, a lot of peer pressure about, you know what, not only in high school, but also in college, guys, right? So you don't want to go with the crowd with everything that high schoolers and college players are doing. Because if you want to be baseball's 1%, you have to be that black sheep, okay? It's okay to be that black sheep, but if you are mentally developed, and you have a great foundation to the game, you have the fundamentals taken care of, guys, your focus or your player's focus should really be to try making varsity. As you guys just heard, I didn't say anything about physically being big and strong and mature. I was 5'7", 140 pounds my freshman year on varsity. That's a picture of my mentor, my hero, one of my best coaches in my entire life that instilled so much confidence in me. The late Jim McCandless, and he was the head coach at Severna Park High School. We went to the state championship game, and he, basically allowed me to spread my wings in a certain way. So it's not like I was this physical beast. I was 5'7", guys. Not big by any means, but your son should really know how to lift also with good form by freshman year, right? We can't be in the gym not knowing what we're doing, because ultimately that can lead to injuries, right? And we should be lifting mid-season without a doubt. I know this is probably going to make you guys be like, oh, no, we can't do that. But ultimately, guys, my sophomore year at Sarasota High School was the first year that I actually lifted during the season, and I said the same exact thing. Guys, it's important to do this because this is what you do not only in the rest of your high school career, but throughout your college career. And of course, if you have the privilege of playing professional baseball, you lift during the season. It's just the way it is. And you should have a clear-cut routine by now if you are a ninth grader. So now, we're a 10th grader. This is when we should be, maybe starting to, physically mature. This is our visibility year. So this is critical. You know your metrics. If there's one thing that you did not know before going into this webinar, and now you do know, understand what your metrics are and basically what they are, right? Your 60-yard dash time, that's how fast you run. 60 yards. It's as simple as that. Run a straight line for 60 yards, time yourself. You should know what that number is. 7 seconds is a good number. Your arm velocity, this is going to be from the mound if you're a pitcher or from a position, all right? Because ultimately, when you go to these showcases, you're going to get your outfield velocity. If you're an outfielder, you're going to get your infield velocity across the diamond from shortstop if you're an infielder. And then also, you're going to get your pop time velo if you're a catcher. You should also know your exit velocity. That's the speed the ball is coming off the bat, off of a tee maybe. Your pop time if you're a catcher, and then maybe your home to first, another foot speed one, right? So again, guys, metrics are more important than stats. Guys, I hear it so often. Oh, my kid batted 450, or my kid hit 720. It's like, congratulations. That doesn't matter, and that does not impress me. That does not impress guys. Again, if you're joining in, make sure that you mute yourself, please, so we're not distracting everyone else. Please mute yourself, guys. Again, stats are not that important, but metrics are. Start understanding like your son's possible major. Like, that's not something that you have to force onto him, but just like make him start to think like, hey, what are you good at? Are you good at reading and writing? Are you good at, math, science? Just like start generalizing like, oh, this is kind of what I want to do maybe in college. You want to also get a feel if you want to attend, or if your son wants to attend a local college or maybe go out of state. I knew that I wanted to get out of the state of Florida. I grew up in Sarasota, Florida. I didn't want to go to a Florida State, a Miami, a UF, nothing like that. If your player is a college caliber talent, I can't stress this enough, he's not asking himself questions his 10th grade year like, how bad do I really want to play college baseball? Can I play college baseball? Because that's kind of instilling some doubt. And what should I do now? Because I don't really know what to do, right? Your player's not asking himself questions like that. But if your son is a college caliber player, he is telling himself, well, obviously I'm going to play college baseball. It's just part of the path that I'm on. Right? And it's this deep-rooted confidence, and again, this really comes from that mental development of understanding who we are from 8th grade, 9th grade, and 10th grade. We've already matured mentally, but also physically. If we get there, we get there, right? But obviously, I'm going to play college baseball. That's just, I know that's part of my path, right? So we have to start to understand that. Now, this is one of the most important aspects with what we've got going on. Is the pre-August 1st, since August 1st is right around the corner, guys. It is very, very important to, one second, gotta mute people. pre-August 1st, because this is the time when college coaches can start to ultimately reach out to us, is after August 1st. So that's coming up here in the next few days. But ultimately, we want to pave a way for a successful August 1st by having a good recruiting strategy. And again, this is what's called the leverage year. So little experience for my story, but I was shopping in the Mall of America in Orlando, Florida with my mom and my sister, and I got about 7 D1 coaches call me up at the specific time that they were allowed to start reaching out to me. And that ultimately told me, it gave me a lot of confidence that I was on the right path. I impressed the coaches to know that they knew who I was. I also knew who they were. And I did a really good job of saving all these contacts, because no joke, after one person hung up, or I hung up with one coach, another coach called, and this happened for a 10 or 15 minute span right after that deadline was over with. So it was really cool because it gave me that confidence again on what I was doing the right way. And ultimately, by 11th grade, pre-August 1st, you should have a concentrated list of interested schools. And you are interested in them, and they are interested in you guys. And recruiting, and the whole recruiting process, when we actually get to choose which school we want to go to, it's very much so like dating. We don't just want to marry the first person that we lay eyes on, because ultimately it might not be a good fit for each other, right? It is very much like dating, because you want to ultimately understand the coach, what they stand for, who they are, things like that, because you have to trust that coach for the next possible 4 years of your son's career. So this is all done by focusing, again, on that speed bump when it's a speed bump before it turns into a mountain. And unfortunately, that's where I meet a lot of families and players within the academy, is when things start to pick up so much, and then they start to realize, holy cow, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball. So now going into post August 1st, which is again like a week from now, leverage year of 11th grade. So ask yourself, did you get a call? Did you get a text? Did you get an email from a coach yet? Do you have any good reason that they are interested in you, right? These colleges that you thought they were interested in you, did they reach out? Do you have a plan to get more conversations in the pipeline, right? Because ultimately, if one coach reaches out, are we content with just one college coach? Probably not, right? And are we physically developing? Are we around 160 pounds yet? That's just going to be a good range for college coaches to start seeing your projectability. But, have we made any noticeable progress in the 2 to 3 major metrics as far as our 60 time, our arm velocity, exit velocity, things like that? So going into our senior year, what is that? It's our final push. We might be pushing that panic button a little bit as well. So is our exit velocity on a skill side of things, is it over the 95 miles an hour off of the tee? Is our arm velocity 87 from either a position or off the mound? Is our 60 time under a 6.9 second 60? Are we squatting, deadlifting, benching, heavy? Are we getting after it in the gym? That's what I'm asking myself. But ultimately, the simple question is, are you ready to compete, or is your son ready to compete with 21-year-old men? We also want to be nurturing the relationships with these college coaches, and are we sending them progress reports, but then also, are they asking for progress reports from us? All right, so now you know exactly where you are at as far as that time frame on the whole college recruiting timeline. But what should I do now, right? So what most programs miss, because ultimately there's going to be temptation to join something or to do something, right? A lot of programs will miss the development aspect, because just 1 hour lessons a week, it's weak, right? There's 6 days out of the week, and 1 hour a week is simply child's play. So if you just go to tournaments, you're kind of living in Little League era, because play is not going to help you get better. So don't mix development with playing. Guys, you do not develop if you just play. You need to break that cycle completely and snap it in half. If you're focused only on recruiting, priority number 1 will always be development. So you've probably already lost if you have the mindset of recruiting is the problem why my son hasn't landed a scholarship. You're probably the same type of parent that probably says it's politics, which is why your son's not playing. Well, if your son's not playing, he's not going to get recruited, right? So we need to understand where we're at. And again, priority number 1 will always be physical development. And then also coaches, you can put some trust in some coaches, but will help you get recruited. That's what they told me, my high school coaches, my travel ball coaches, but ultimately they will pick up the phone and help me out in the whole college recruiting process, but they are not going to be the ones that initiate that conversation and start conversations with these college coaches. That is that is ultimately on the player's responsibility, especially when you start doing the math on how many players are in that entire travel ball organization. So there's some false promises there. So the triple play system. It's clarity in all this chaos, right? So most parents think that the player needs more exposure, but exposure without development, again, is just false hope. And we build players who are recruitable, not just visible. This isn't just like a highlight reel and put a stamp on it and send it away. That's not what we do. It's a complete transformation on what we're trying to achieve with all of my students. And we're looking to change habits, right? Because if we're changing these habits, the byproduct will be development. The byproduct will be more recruitable, be more mature individuals that understand time management and understand that structure that they need to play at the next level. It is important to understand what we are not. So we are not a recruiting service. I'm not a camp or a showcase. We're not in-person lessons. We're definitely not a middleman networking vehicle for your player. And believe it or not, parents, want that. I'm not going to ever give one of my students a fish because I want them to work for it. I'm going to teach you how to fish rather than give you a fish. And we're definitely not just like a course, right? The triple play system breaks down to this. It's physical development, the mental performance, and then also the recruiting blueprint. There's also that one-on-one support. So let's go through each and every one. Phase 1, physical development. Ultimately, we're trying to get those tools that translate. So if your son's tools don't show up on the radar guns or maybe in video at the showcase or maybe during game reps, he's getting passed up. Physical development is key. So we build real strength, that mobility, the explosiveness with a plan that designs to fit his position and also his goals. This isn't just about lifting weights. It's training to be undeniable to these college coaches because that's what ultimately moves the needle. We want to be athletic. We also want to have those quick, fast bats. We want to have those loud tools, period. Right? And on your screen, what you can see right now, that's an example of what one of my workout programs that we actually have written by a New York Mets strength coach looks like. We have them written up between off-season and in-season. We also have phase 1, 2, and 3 for both in-season and off-season. We have it split up for each days and things like that. So what you just saw was the tiniest little sliver of, I think it was a January, right? So there's obviously much more complexities on what we do as far as writing out these programs for our players, depending on the time of the year, because we want to take into account the volume necessary. So now mental development, we're really understanding that baseball IQ and in-game confidence. Confidence is the biggest buzzword no one understands. So the players who get offers, they're not just athletic. They think the game at this higher level, okay? They have that confidence in them. We train that confidence, that composure, and the baseball IQ like it's a muscle, guys. Like I said, it's really important to understand how we train our muscles and that deep-rooted belief that we will play college baseball. It's just part of the process, right? So when pressure hits, we don't fold. Our players do not fold, and this is what separates prospects from the rest of the players. And ultimately, that calm, that smart, that maturity, that's what coaches will leave a field and think, even though Evan Mendoza didn't play that great, I really like how he handled himself, and you know what, I'm going to give him another shot, right? Because I like his personality, I like his demeanor. It just means a lot. So as far as my teaching style, I've developed a couple of courses that are like college courses. I took a baseball course in college. I thought it was kind of BS, but at the end of the day, my teaching style is very interactive because a lot of my students are visual learners, and to be able to learn things like the defensive handbook that the St. Louis Cardinals gave me when I got drafted by them, that's high-level information, guys. So that's really important stuff. So next up, the recruiting strategy. This is the last pillar of the triple play. We're trying to get that visibility with a purpose. So your son doesn't need to email 200 coaches or go to 6 more showcases to land a college commitment. That's just being blindfolded and trying to hit a bullseye, guys. So he needs to position himself as the solution, not just another statistic or not just another email. So we guide him through personalized outreach, video prep, email scripts, and how to handle real conversations with these college coaches. So that's basically the college commitment blueprint that I give to my students. There's no guesswork here. It's not luck. And this is a little bit of a hands-on look of what the recruiting strategy ultimately looks like. So there's a couple of things right here as far as the understanding of, sorry, one second. We have a couple of things here as far as the email template. We have also the tracker on the right side. The tracker is basically going to show in real time which college coaches are opening, clicking and responding to our email. So very important information here. There's also that one-on-one support. These are a couple of my students that have been onboarded recently. There's obviously that real connection that we have because this is what moves the needle, is having people in your corner that ultimately care about your development and not just a team fee and handing over some jerseys. So one aspect of that support is we do weekly updates every single week to make sure that our students are progressing in what we've got going on. So your player deserves a real shot, not just like a hope and pray, finger crossed type strategy, right? So the game has changed, and the portal tsunami has already hit land, and the recruiting whiplash, it's a real thing, okay? And if you're not adapting, you're falling behind, and here's ultimately the big truth. Families who win are the ones with a system or a guide, and ultimately that clear plan moving forward. So like I said, the triple play, the physical, the mental, the recruiting, the support, but it is 100% remote, 100% online. And the triple play system is not just a PDF, we hand it over and that's all good. Or it's definitely not like a YouTube video, here you go, end all be all. That's not what we do. It's real coaching from someone who's actually walked the walk, and with real accountability, real structure, and also real results. So real results, just like JT Taylor, his arm velocity went up a ton. He was also hitting home runs. This was a couple of weeks ago. I actually added this in recently. Probably one of the farthest ball I've ever hit, around 380 at East Cobb. I don't know what's happening, bro. That was like 2 in a weekend. It was crazy. Hard work's really paying off like crazy right now. And again, this is all coming from the weekly updates, right? So the weekly updates are huge because, this is how we're able to track the progress. So let's take a little bit of a deeper dive on JT since joining into the program. As we can see, there's not really ever been a plateau, and this is the data-driven decisions that we make to make sure that JT is getting all the resources he needs to progress and to grow, right? So he started off with, an 89 exit velocity on week 0 or week 1, and I believe right now he's at a 97. I believe a couple of slides back, 97 exit velocity. These are really just the charts. So the exit velocity gained, he's close to 10 miles an hour. His arm velocity, he's gained 8 miles an hour. He's throwing, I think, like 89 right now. And then also his pop time's like a 186. And then his 60-yard dash time, even though he's a catcher, he's I think running like a 7 flat, which is insane because that's really fast as a catcher, especially in college and even pro ball. So the cool thing about JT and his whole story, and this is the accountability and ultimately the structure that a lot of players need but don't know how to go about it, I never had to remind JT once to fill out one of these weekly check-ins because he takes that accountability on his career, and I'm not going to ever, again, give him a fish on moving forward in his journey. It has to be something that we start to take that ownership of what we're doing. So another area is his weight. JT Taylor, he was 167 in October. Now he's 180 pounds. That is insane. That's 13 pounds he's gained inside the program. And those flyouts or doubles off the wall are now going over the wall now. I think he has 4 home runs this summer. He's able to gain arm velocity 8 miles an hour, exit velocity 8 miles an hour, and decrease his pop time by 0.15 seconds. This is also the reason why we've been able to land so many college commitments. And I do have to put a little disclaimer out here because ultimately we don't offer a guaranteed path to college recruiting. We don't guarantee specific outcomes. Our focus is on providing those athletes with the tools. And again, guys, it's all going to come down to the personal dedication and the amount of work that's applied to get these results. So the program, as far as the triple play, it works if your son does. And these are some, testimonials, screenshots from all of my students. You can check this out. This is, just go over to Mendozabaseballacademy.com/proof, and you will see all of these, screenshots. But, Derek, as you guys saw earlier, 8 miles an hour of exit velocity, 4 miles an hour in just 2 months inside the program, and almost a half a second shaved off of his 60-yard dash time. And just like to say thank you for all the help throughout these past 2 months. A lot of testimonials as well over on YouTube. I think we have like 21 testimonials. You can listen to some stories as far as some of the parents, some of the players, what their journey was inside the academy, and go through JT's process as well, what his thoughts were about the whole academy. So what's the real cost of guessing through this whole college recruiting process? And every season you wait, your player gets a year older, and competition gets tougher, opportunities will shrink, and most families don't regret investing in development. Most families, they will regret waiting too long. Okay, so what's the actual cost of guessing? So average college tuition, I averaged it out in a quick little Google, $27,000 per year, and that's a mix between in-state, out-of-state, and private tuition, all right? So that's about $108,000 for 4 years of college. So if we're even able to generate a 25% athletic scholarship, we could potentially save $27,000 in saved tuition. So you're already paying for it, guys, just not getting the results. You're still on this hamster wheel. So whether it's for showcase fees, which by the way, a lot of these showcases are like one-day events. It's kind of insane. So like a Perfect Game, a Baseball Factory, a PBR, these are probably like $1,000 each event, probably $1,000 plus. And if you go to one every single year, roughly like $5,000 as far as what that value is. 4 years of travel ball, gas, hotels, flights. So, yes, East Cobb Astros or USA Prime, whatever the case may be. You also have those tournament fees. You have the hotels. We have the travel. So that's probably like around $4,500 a year multiplied by the 4 years. You're already paying for it. So the 4 years of private lessons, maybe 1 hour a week. Again, 1 hour a week's child's play, but $100 hourly rate, which is the going rate. 45 weeks out of the year, $4,500 a year times 4 years. $18,000 you're spending in private lessons. You could be doing a database valued at maybe $2,000 to $5,000 just for a database. No even like guidance on what to do with that database, and maybe equipment, $1,000 a year. So you're already spending maybe $40,000 to $50,000 for 4 years of high school baseball. So roughly, on average, maybe $12,000 per year. So you've already spent thousands, but has it actually, and can you confidently say it has moved the needle? Investing in a system is cheaper than wasting money on random actions, again, in this just constant hamster wheel of not knowing what to do and where to go. All right, so when's the right time? Because that's the next thing that a lot of people are probably just going to be asking themselves. And most families will think, I'll just wait until next season, but by then, roster spots are gone. There are more scholarship opportunities today than there will be tomorrow. Again, that's a very important aspect that you have to think about it. There are more scholarship opportunities today than there will be tomorrow. Just think about that. Coaches possibly have moved on, and your player maybe missed their window. So the best time really was 6 months ago. The second best time is today. So also, it's summertime, it's fall time, school's about to start up. Can we do this in the summer? Yes. Can we do it in the fall? Yes. Can we do it in the winter? Yes. Can we do it in the spring? Absolutely yes. The greatest players that I've been able to rub shoulders alongside with, guys, the Yadier Molinas, the Paul Goldschmidts, the Fernando Tatis, the Manny Machados, the Juan Sotos, the greatest players in the world, they don't wait for the perfect time where all the stars align to start getting better and chasing their dreams. They understand time is the most valuable asset that they have, so they're going to make sure to use it to their advantage. So getting started sooner rather than later is exactly what makes them so great. So I do want to go over a quick little FAQ before we wrap things up. And by the way, we're going to be doing a Q&A here in the next couple of minutes. So are there other coaches inside my program? Yes, there is a New York Mets strength coach who writes the programs, although your son's going to be personally working one-on-one with me. We don't have many videos as far as for the recruiting process. Don't worry, it's 2025. We will fix that. How long is my program? It's 4 months. Is it all online? Yes, it's 100% online. So let's see if it's a fit. So we don't work with everyone, and that is by design. And by the way, in the top right, if you have your phones, pull them out real quick. Schedule that eligibility rule review, which that call is for serious players and families who are all in on making this happen. We want to deliver real results, just like JT, Derek, so we can use them. Guys, I'm going to be transparent with you guys. If your son wins, so do we. It's as simple as that. So book an eligibility review with either me or a team member to see if we can even help you guys out. I do work with only 5 students every month to ensure my bandwidth is never stretched thin, because that is something that got really frustrating in high school and college or in travel ball, is everyone telling me, hey, I can help you out, but then when you start running the numbers, that's something that just not is doable whatsoever. So like I mentioned, and because I am a man of my word, you guys stuck until the round. So first off, give yourself a little bit of applause right there. And I gave you 4 bonus gifts. So thanks for sticking around the end. Here's your reward. So the 4 free bonus gifts. I'm going to hand you over a free college email template. I'm going to hand you over an upper body lift as far as what we do inside the Mendoza Baseball Academy. I'm going to hand over also a sprinting program, a D1 college checklist to see if your son is even ready to play D1 baseball. You can use these today, or better yet, we can help your son build the rest. This is a QR code. You can also book an eligibility review with either my team, me, or a team member to see if we can help. And if you're interested in seeing if we're a good fit, that QR code on the left, if you want to just grab those bonus gifts, go ahead and grab them to the right. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'm going to be here for the next probably like 15 minutes or so. Or if everyone has it all figured out, I can also just save my voice. I am live on Instagram. I am live on TikTok, so I'm going to probably find some questions over here. But I'm also going to prioritize if anybody is here on Zoom, because this is the way that I want to do it. How do you handle injuries during the program? So great question. This is where I had to handle a couple of injuries as well. So I broke my wrist twice when I was with the St. Louis Cardinals, which was no fun. But it was an area that you really have to shift your perspective. I also tore my groin, which was not fun. So when I broke my wrist, I was doing lower body every single day of the week, 5-6 days out of the week. On the other flip side, when I tore my groin, I was doing upper body 5-6 days out of the week, because ultimately I had this mindset of what can we do rather than we can't do anything, right? So that's the area that we need to start shifting that perspective of how can we make this time worth it. So this is without a doubt, like if you're injured inside the program, we can put a heavy focus inside the recruiting aspect. We can also work on the mental training as far as my teaching style being very, very visual. So these are all aspects that are very important for you to understand how we can develop, even though our circumstances aren't the best, right? How does it work with an 8th grader in the 4 months? What do you suggest that they do after the 4 months? Is there an opportunity to extend longer? We really just want to help him train and have accountability because we aren't around big facilities for training. And that's honestly what a lot of people tell me as well. So first question, how does it work with an 8th grader for the 4 months? Just like it would work with an 11th grader or a 10th grader. 4 months inside the program, and the way that we've designed the triple play is really to make sure that your player feels like he can spread his wings at the end of the 4 months, right? We're not here to like sign you up for a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal until he's a senior. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to make sure that your son understands the new structure he needs to have inside the weight room. He knows exactly how to reach out to college coaches, not only for today, but also in the future when college recruiting will start to pick up. And these things, again, I'm hoping that your son will be able to spread his wings at the end of the 4 months. Now, with that being said, if your son feels like he's loved the experience inside the academy, just like Coy, Coy's inside the academy, but if he loves that dynamic as far as like what the like he's developing quicker with me than without me, that's where without a doubt we can extend, whether it's a month by month, we can do like something longer if it's a 4 month, if it's a year, but I don't want to jump the gun. At the end of the day, guys, I want you and your son to be able to spread his wings at the end of the program, and ultimately that way we understand if we're even a good fit for each other. I know sometimes people want to like jump really all in, but again, guys, I don't want to sign you guys up for a 5-year deal, and if you guys maybe don't like me or maybe I don't like you guys, it goes both ways. Awesome. BMAC, extremely helpful. Thank you for taking the time, sharing this information. I appreciate you being here as well. It's been awesome as well. You guys really could have been doing anything in the world, like I said earlier, and you decided to spend a Tuesday night with me, which I do appreciate. I've had a hard time making the high school team and a club team. What should I do? Sam, to get a little bit more better context, it would probably be helpful to understand like what grade you're in, graduation year, position, some stuff like that, because I could give you just like a ton of generalized values, but I want it to be specific so that way you can take it home and actually make it a value. So feel free to ask a little bit more of a clarifying question down below, and I'll get to you, Sam. Thank you, great information. Thank you, iPhone 59. As a 16-year-old junior, what should my pop time be? So 16 years old, that's probably about sophomore or junior year of high school. Pop time can be really, like the number that we really want to be striving for is probably 2 seconds or below. 2 seconds is like, in my opinion, like the threshold that we should be hitting probably around that time as being 16 years old. The quicker the better, though, Coy. At the end of the day, like we want to be as quick as humanly possible with our pop time, and what we really can do with that is not necessarily focus just on that number. We're going to be focusing things on in the gym as far as building our arm strength, getting our physical abilities that much better, building up our leg strength to be able to be that much more quicker with our, our transfer and things like that. So there's not necessarily just like the time that we need to focus on and get so much more like understanding on. It's really how can we develop around catching, and that's going to help us with that pop time, getting it closer to maybe like a 1.9, 1.8 as that arm strength starts to grow. Because that's the biggest thing is once we build that arm strength, that's where we're going to be able to see those greater strides in our pop time. Great question, Coy. Amy said, thank you. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Glenn. How often should a pitcher be throwing? Again, David, that is a very hard question to answer because I don't know what the time of the year. If we're talking about like right now, if we're talking about like I'm generalizing, by the way, because I have no idea, David, who your son is or who you are. So let's just paint a picture. Your son's a sophomore in high school. It's closing in on the end of summer ball. Maybe you guys have one more tournament left before school starts. So depends on what you guys are doing in the fall time. If you guys have a completely wide open schedule in the fall time, this is where I would prioritize lifting extremely heavy for 3 to 4 months, leading into your junior year of high school. So this is going to be a huge area that we can start to separate ourselves, because we are focusing on developing, not playing. As we're developing, maybe 2 months in, maybe if we take a couple of months off because we just had a long summer and spring season, once we ramp back up with the throwing, this is where we can incorporate a throwing program leading into the season, but not too soon, because ultimately we do want to have like maybe a 2 or 3 week break before the season starts up. And again, it's a long year of baseball. So again, this is all generalized information, David, because how often should a pitcher be thrown? It's hard to answer that, but long story short, he should have a throwing program. He should have an arm velocity throwing program. He should have an arm care understanding of how to take care of his arm and what to do and how to do it, things like that, without a doubt. Sam, 2026 position, right field. So right off the bat, 2026, so you're about to be a senior, if you're having a hard time making the team and you're going to Legion, you're playing right field, right now you're kind of pushing yourself away from the center of the field. Ultimately, you want to always be playing in the center of the field because that's where the athletes are. If you're already playing right field, this is where there's less action. They're kind of just throwing you over there. So this is where I would start training like a shortstop, a second baseman, or maybe a center fielder. And then that way we're training like those individuals, and maybe we'll get a little bit more better playing time. Maybe it's in right field as a starter, or maybe we're coming off the bench, but ultimately we're showing these these high school coaches what we're capable of as far as our overall athleticism. So great question, Sam. I appreciate you being here and joining it. We got Marianne Conley. Okay, gotcha. Any questions? We got a senior. So it gave me a little bit of better context. I appreciate that. I recommend joining the program. It's legit very helpful. Coy, I appreciate that. Coy just joined in, I think like 2 weeks ago, 2-3 weeks ago. Correct me if I'm wrong, Coy, but I'm pretty sure it was in that range. I missed some of this, so I apologize if explained already. No worries, Andrea. My son recently gained a lot of arm strength and arm strength and lower body strength and core strength. Everything, awesome. Last month, but it hasn't equated to an arm increase in velocity, as is frustrating. He is still at 86, maybe plateauing, going into his junior year. Sounds like maybe he needs more throwing program now. Would this help? So yes, I mean, the simple solution, Andrea, is yes. There is a velo throwing program and arm care course inside my program. That's the exact same program that I did to go from 82 to 88 in a span of like 3 or 4 months between my sophomore and junior year. Again, with the visual style of learning, that's kind of like more on the mental side, because I, again, want to teach a lot of my students how to fish rather than just, hey, here's a throwing program that you have no idea what to do or how to use it or how to utilize it. So that's the area that I want to make sure that a lot of my students understand how to develop the arm program, the throwing program. So that way, again, guys, I can be hands off at the end of the 4 months of working together. Your player is truly spreading his wings as far as what's going on. My son just made his club, and great question. Yeah, as far as like hitting that plateau though, that's something that also, Andrea, really frustrating on my end, because I went to a gym, a facility in my second off season as a pro when I was with the St. Louis Cardinals. And I got honestly, I got big, I got strong. I saw a huge difference physically. I even got like some definition in my abs, which I've never had abs before. But it was cool. I was just like, wow, I feel strong. I was lifting very heavy, like very heavy. I was maxing, like I got stronger in the gym, right? The gym and how we get stronger and getting stronger in a sport-specific movement, like rotating and swinging a bat, or even like a golf club, right? It takes specific movements and specific muscles to fire at the right time to get that strength. And there is a level of hand-eye coordination and athleticism that is needed to be able to throw a baseball harder. And you've seen people like Marcus Stroman, if you guys don't know, he's like 5'8". He's not a huge guy. He isn't the strongest guy either because he's pretty small, but his body works extremely well together and he understands his body. So that's why he's able to throw 94, 95 miles an hour, right? So it's not just about building that strength, it's about building baseball specific strength in the gym. That's what's going to help you guys out the most. Great question, Andrea. AJ, my son just made a club his first tryout for fall season. He's primarily a catcher, 2028 grad. Floater for varsity, definitely strongest on JV because needs a catcher and small pool of guys. How does your program work to build to get him to strong on varsity? So in what regards, AJ? I mean, it sounds like you're asking how does your program work to build
to get him strong on varsity. Really the physical development, obviously understanding like catching and the mental side, if I'm understanding your question correctly. As far as like the working out, again, I feel like there's a lot of, how does your program work to get built? So the triple play, I think the easiest answer is just the triple play. Making sure that he's physically strong, the best athletic ability as him being a catcher on JV, he needs to be progressing to that varsity level. Making sure he's understanding the game, his IQ, and he's mentally at that next level. And then also on the recruiting side, like making sure that he's starting to mix his name in with these college coaches, outreaching to these college coaches, because ultimately that's going to be picking up, if it hasn't already, his sophomore year of high school. Sorry, is there a mixture with your program? No. So that all of my students, they play travel ball. All of my students play high school ball. Some of them elect to not play travel ball, like in the fall time, because they really are focusing on that development. That's a conversation that I have with my students individually. But yeah, all my students go to high school. All of my students have tests and quizzes. All my students play baseball. Some of my students even play other sports. So again, it's really just that prioritization on what we're doing. It's not like we're doing double the amount of work. It's just refining what we're doing. All right. So that's probably the most important key element in making sure that we understand like how the dynamic works as far as joining into my program. My program, like I said earlier, it's 100% remote, guys. I do appreciate you guys also joining in with me here today, because you could have been doing anything else in the world. And to learn about baseball recruiting, it's definitely a little bit of a daunting subject, because there's a lot of things thrown our way. The recruiting whiplash that we've all been facing. There's been changing rules. The NCAA is just constantly moving. I was just in conversation with the NC State recruiting coordinator. I sent over one of my players to him because he's going to be in town at a camp. And yeah, just like the change in the eligibility, the contact, the August 1st rule that's coming up here soon. So like a lot of things are in motion for NCAA, and the biggest thing that I really just want out of them is just for them to stick to some rules, so that way we can all be on the same page, because it is very time consuming to understand what's moving, what's not. I do appreciate you guys all for joining in, and thank you for this information. Thank you, Tony, for joining in, and until next time, later guys.